It was probably one of the most shocking investigations that I have done was in 2010, and it was in Tennessee, very rural Tennessee, and we had an incident where a witness had called in and was reporting these orange balls or orange orbs. And as I got talking to the witness on the phone several other times, we realized that there was a lot more to these events and they were happening almost nightly. I knew I needed to get boots on the ground. I needed to go out and do an on-site and an event investigation. But this was during the time when Tennessee had a huge flood. So from Memphis to Nashville was completely underwater. That set us back about 10 days. But eventually I did get out there, and it was a night that still has me scratching my head. I'm still trying to figure out what the heck was going on that evening. And mostly because it started with little lights in the sky, their little pinpoint, and they would just show up kind of on the left-hand side. And it's just this little group of lights. They would gather together, almost perform in unison and as a collective unit, and then they would just shoot off and stop and then come together. But when you got tired of watching this little group, there was one to the right and there was one forward, and there were several of these. It wasn't long after spotting these little groups that the witness said that we could have a better view if we went down the road just a bit, because he owned a huge cornfield. And that's what we did. All got in the car and drove down to this big cornfield. It was at this time that I'm setting up equipment, and I realize that things are about to change. You almost have this little sense, and the witness said to me, "Oh my gosh, Chase, this is what I wanted you to see." And he was very excited and almost relieved that what he thought was going to be why I was called out was actually showing up. And I looked up and I saw a white light, and it was coming toward us. It was pretty high in the sky, but low enough, lower than the average plane. And one light, and then all of a sudden 2 more lights showed up. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, what is this? And then I realized they're not 3 individual lights. They're all part of one craft. And it was a triangle. This craft proceeded, never changed altitude, never changed speed. To describe how it moved in the sky is difficult because it wasn't flying, it wasn't gliding, it wasn't almost being towed or on a rail. It's very hard, but the way it moves is very different. And I realized that this was a triangle object because it was also blocking out the sky and the stars. It was huge. We were excited, and it completely flew over our heads. It wasn't long before it was past us, and we're all looking at this. You can barely take your eyes off it. But I remember trying to grab cameras. I had 4 different cameras, different makes and models. I had tri-field meters, K2s. There was a lot of battery operated, or what we would consider a couple years ago sophisticated equipment. Nothing was working. I initially thought it was a battery drain that we know is very, very common in paranormal, even cryptid, some Bigfoot type sightings, and definitely UFO incidents. Very frustrated. I'm an investigator. I'm out there. This is the first time I've seen something of this caliber. Blown away. We're so happy. There was another MUFON investigator with me. We're kind of looking at each other, trying to maintain a professional composure, but we're about ready to happy dance. Neither one of us had ever seen anything that significant. It was about that time I looked down and I started taking the battery case off my tri-field meter, which requires a small screwdriver. And all of a sudden I started feeling just this little paranoia, I just had the sense that someone was watching us. And I actually spoke out and asked the other people in the field. I just said, "Hey, does anybody else, feel like you're being watched? And I don't mean from up here, but from down here." And before anybody could answer us, it felt like this fear physically hit you. It pounded like in your body. It was something physical. Every single cell of your body is petrified. Fight or flight times 1,000. I have never felt anything like that. It was pure terror. And I just remember turning and starting to run. Looking back, you know, when I turned, I remembered seeing everybody else turn the same direction at the exact same time, and we all just started running. Nobody said, "What's that?" Nobody said, "Run." I mean, there was no clue. We just all behaved exactly the same way. I'm running. I am running through this cornfield faster. I can even remember a little bit thinking, oh my gosh, like I'm really hauling. I was running. All of a sudden I feel like I hit this brick wall, and it was a witness. He had stopped in front of me and I hit him so hard. I swear I don't know how we were still standing up. And he said, "What the F is that?" And in his left hand he had one of those halogen type flashlights. And he took his left arm and he swung it to his side, and literally about 6 feet from us, there was this being. It was this little gray type of being standing right there. And I couldn't believe it. And I just was so shocked to see that there was something so close to us and right there. And the first thing I thought was, oh my gosh, this is not that cute little Roswell alien. And the second thing I remember, and it was something that stayed with me for quite a bit, was his legs were so frail. And from what I saw, they were twig-like. They weren't normal. I just remember thinking, there's no way they're holding him up. And it was really just 1 second. In the time frame of 1,002, we were gone again. Again, nobody saying anything, just running. We get into the vehicle, we get back up to the house, everybody jumps out of the truck. We're kind of looking at each other, nobody's saying a word. I believe I broke the ice kind of with a little chuckle like, what just happened? And I knew at this point that the fear had been gone. I don't know exactly when it left, if it was all at once or just the further away we got, the better we felt. But I just remember it being gone, and reality started coming back, which was, wait a minute, we saw a being in the field, there's physical evidence, I need to go out and try to get tracks. It's all these things are running through. But the other thing I knew immediately was, we cannot talk about what we just saw until we are debriefed, because the investigators had just now become witnesses to a pretty big event. I left that evening absolutely not knowing, you know, what the heck had happened. I'm still scratching my head, because the thing I keep thinking is nobody gets everything in one night. Nobody. So I still don't know what was going on.